In this week's episode of Brit in Poland, I take you to Podkarpacia, to an area known as Beskid Niski, or Small Beskids. So it's one of the kind of mountainous areas that you have around here. And I'm going to tell you about a few things. We went to a place called Duka, which used to be quite an important town back in the day. We stayed in Teodorówka, I think. We went up into the mountains and learned a bit about the I think the Lemno culture, which is an old Polish culture that was wiped out. So I'll tell you a bit about that. And at the moment we're in an oil and gas museum, because it isn't just coal or salt that Poland mines, but other things as well. Maybe I shouldn't broadcast this to the US. They might come invading. Just kidding. But please enjoy another wonderful snapshot of Podkarpacia for you. And it's very cold. It's been like around -10. But great journey. Dzień dobry and welcome to A Brit in Poland. With this channel, I travel across the country, I bring you the culture, and I show you just how amazing Poland is. So I invite you on my journey. If you want to see more, I have Facebook and Instagram profiles, which you will find links to in the description below. And if you want to really help out, you can turn to my Patreon or Patronite accounts, again in the description. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like, share and subscribe. Do zobaczenia. In the middle of January, we drove southeast from Warsaw into Beskid Niski, or the Low Beskids, a quiet mountain region in the Polish Carpathians, close to the Slovak border. Our base was Teodorówka, a small village near Dukla. We arrived late, in the dark and cold, to a cabin where the first priorities were simple: get the fire going, bring water from the well, cook food and warm up. At first, this was just meant to be a winter escape. Friends, snow, a cabin, mountain hike, and a few interesting places nearby. But over the weekend, this quiet landscape began to reveal something deeper. Traces of vanished communities, forgotten importance, war, industry, and the strange beauty of a part of Poland that feels far more layered than it first appears. After the long drive south, we arrived in Teodorówka late in the evening. There is always something slightly strange about arriving somewhere remote in the dark. You don't fully understand the landscape yet. You only know the cold, the road behind you, and the practical things that suddenly matter most. First, we had to get the cabin working. Wood went into the stove. Water had to be brought from the well. Food had to be unpacked and cooked. Bags were dropped wherever there was space, and slowly the place started to feel less like a cold wooden box in the mountains, and more like our home for the weekend. And that was one of the nicest parts of the trip. Outside, it was January in Beskid Niski. Dark, freezing and quiet, but inside there was music, food, drinks, and the simple warmth of people settling in after a long journey. It was not luxury. It was better than that. It felt real. The next morning, we finally got to see where we had arrived. After the darkness of the night before, Beskid Niski opened up around us as a quiet winter landscape. Low mountains, forest roads, scattered villages, and snow covering almost everything. Before heading properly into the hills,
we stopped for supplies. Then began making our way around the mountains. At first, it felt like a simple winter hike. Boots in the snow, trees on both sides, cold air, and the slow rhythm of moving as a group through the forest. But even early on, there were small signs that this landscape had more to say. Then, in the snow, we came across this cross. At first, I didn't fully know what story it belonged to, but I would come to learn that in Beskid Niski, traces like this often lead towards a much deeper history, and that the ground we were standing on had already carried more than its share of it. The hills around Tierdaruvka saw some of the heaviest fighting of the Carpatho-Dukla offensive in 1944. Vgorje 534, Hill 534, changed hands multiple times in brutal close combat, earning comparisons to Omaha Beach for the scale of the losses. Tens of thousands of Soviet and Czechoslovak soldiers died in this region in a matter of weeks. The cross in the snow was not the only thing remembered here. Before this trip, I had seen part of another layer of that history in the Ethnographic Museum in Warsaw. Paintings, clothing, craft work, and simple tools connected with the Lemko people. The Lemkos are an East Slavic people, part of a wider Carpatho-Russian world, who traditionally lived across these valleys of Beskid Niski and the surrounding Carpathians. For centuries, their villages shaped this landscape. Farmers, shepherds, woodcarvers, stonemasons, and builders of the beautiful wooden churches that still stand in parts of the region today. But the 20th century broke that world. The fighting of 1944 tore through this region during the Carpatho-Dukla offensive. Then in 1947, Operation Vistula forcibly scattered Lemko communities across northern and western Poland. Villages were emptied, families were dispersed, and many never returned. In the museum, the Lemko world appeared through color, pattern, and detail. Here in the mountains, it appeared differently, through silence, through old crosses, through churches, cemeteries, and spaces where villages may once have stood. And after that, the rest of the hike carried a different weight. Every clearing made me wonder, was this just a logging area, or had there once been houses here? Was this simply forest, or was I walking through the edge of a vanished village? I couldn't know for sure, but by this point, Beskid Niski no longer felt empty to me. It felt full of absences. We kept moving, and there was still a hike to finish. For all the history layered into this landscape, it was also just beautiful. The trees were covered in white, the forest paths felt soft and silent, and every now and then the mountains opened up enough to remind us where we were. We passed a wooden church on the way back, one of those buildings that seems to belong completely to this part of the Carpathians. Simple, graceful, and somehow warmer than the weather around it. By this point, though, the cold was really starting to win. The hike had been beautiful, but also exhausting, and it was freezing enough that even my beard had started to freeze. So when we finally reached the ski lodge and got the chance to sit down, warm up, and eat something, it felt less like a lunch stop and more like a small act of survival. After food and warmth, all that was left was to make our way back to the cabin, tired, cold, and very ready for the stove to do its sacred work again. The next day, the trip shifted from the forest paths of Beskid Niski to the town of Dukla. At first glance, Dukla is a quiet little town, the kind of place you might pass through without realizing how much history is packed into it. But once you start looking more closely, it feels less like a simple stop on the map and more like a town made from layers. We started our morning at the Bernardine Fathers Monastery, and straight away it felt like a peaceful sanctuary tucked away from the rest of the town. Founded in 1741 by the Mniszek family, who also built the palace just up the road, this Baroque church with its two elegant towers was completed in the 1760s. Inside, it's surprisingly bright and graceful, with beautiful polychrome paintings covering the walls and ceiling. And what makes the place special is its connection to St. John of Dukla, a local 15th century saint. His relics are kept here in a silver coffin that still draws pilgrims today. Even if after the heavy fighting of 1944, the monastery survived and was later restored, standing in that light-filled space. It felt like another quiet layer of Dukla's story. Faith and continuity holding on when so much else had been lost. From there, we headed to the palace. Sadly closed when we visited, but even from the outside, it gave a sense that Dukla had once carried far more importance than it does today. In the 16th and 17th centuries, Dukla stood on the old Hungarian trade route, connecting Poland through the Carpathians towards Hungary and the wider Danube region. Goods, merchants, wine, horses, iron, cloth, and other trade passed through here, making Dukla a lively borderland town rather than the quiet place it can seem today. But Dukla's location also meant that history did not pass it gently. During the Second World War, the town became part of the brutal fighting around the Dukla Pass. In 1944, the Carpatho-Dukla offensive tore through this region, and Dukla was badly damaged in the struggle. So when you walk through the town now, there is a strange feeling of survival, of a place rebuilt but not untouched. And that feeling became even stronger at the ruins of the synagogue. Dukla once had a large Jewish community, a major part of the town's life, but during the Holocaust, that community was destroyed. Standing by the ruined synagogue, the story of Dukla stopped being only about trade routes, palaces, and wartime damage. It became another story of absence. In the mountains, I had been thinking about the Lemko villages and the traces left behind in the snow. In Dukla, the feeling was similar. This was not an empty place. It was a place where different worlds had visited, disappeared, and left fragments behind. From there, we kept moving through the town, past churches, ruins, old civic buildings, and small reminders of how Dukla has carried for a place of its size. It is not a town that overwhelms you. It is quieter than that. But the more you connect the pieces, the more it starts to feel like an artifact of a much busier, more painful, and more important past. After Dukla, the story of the region shifted again. We went to the Oil and Gas Museum in Bjobka, and this was one of those places that completely changes how you understand the area. Because after a weekend of snowy forests, ruined traces, old churches, war history, and vanished communities, Bjobka revealed another side of Beskid Niski. This quiet part of Poland was also one of the birthplaces of the modern oil industry. In 1854, Ignacy Łukasiewicz, Titus Krzyżewski, and Karol Klobasa-Jenki, all with tricky names, opened what is widely recognized as the world's first oil mine here. Natural oil seepages had been known in the region for centuries, but this was where they became organized industry. Wells, workshops, machinery, refining, and a new energy future. Łukasiewicz had already helped change the world a year earlier, when he developed a safe kerosene lamp. Before electric light became normal, inventions like this transformed homes, streets, hospitals, and workplaces. So, standing in Brzobka, surrounded by old wells, machinery, workshops, and the smell of crude oil, it was strange to think that this peaceful place had once helped light the modern world. After so much history connected with loss, Brzobka added something different. Beskid Niski was not only a landscape of memory and absence, it was also a landscape of invention. By the end of the weekend, Beskid Niski had given us far more than I expected. A cabin in the cold, a snowy mountain trail, traces of the Lemko world, the scarred history of Dukla, and finally, the birthplace of an industry that helped reshape everyday life. It felt far more complex than the quiet winter landscape I had first entered. There had been warmth here, in the cabin, around the stove, in the food, the music, and the people who made a freezing January trip feel alive. But outside, the mountains and towns carried heavier stories. The battlefield around Tierdarówka, the traces of the Lemko world, the faded importance of Dukla, the ruins of Jewish life, and then, unexpectedly, Brzobka, a place where part of the modern world began. Maybe that is what made this journey stay with me. Beskid Niski was beautiful, but not in a simple way. It was beautiful because it was quiet, layered, and full of traces. Some painful, some surprising, and some almost hidden beneath the snow. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like to hear more stories from Poland and learn more about this incredible country, then please feel free to subscribe. Otherwise, if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate a like. And wishing you a lovely time ahead. Do zobaczenia.